when you look at the schedule, there are potential shake-up snow globe-like weekend possibilities of some upsets this weekend.
Oh, you're calling it Snow Globe weekend?
I mean, you got a playoff game with Alabama LSU.
You do?
I mean, Florida State's got some talent. We got a holy war. We've got Michigan. Washington's not dog crap.
Okay.
Florida, if Lagway play,
Look at Pate. Pate's laughing at you.
There could be chaos. Pate.
Josh Pate from the Josh Pate College Football Show. Why are you laughing at Dunaway, Pate? I mean,
Dunaway, could you do me a favor? I'm not one to waste time. Could you give me that FSU Notre Dame preview again? Because if I heard it correctly, it was FSU's got talent. And then just,
I mean, they do. They have talent. It has not been harnessed. It is sort of like solar energy. We're trying, man. We've got a lot of panels down at the Doak, but we're not soaking it all up right now.
It is a crazy year, though, Pate, because I brought this up earlier. We were talking at one point, is this the worst loss in Alabama history coming out for Vanderbilt?
Maybe an overreaction.
And now when you look at Texas, their best win is Vanderbilt this year.
Yeah, there you go. That's why maybe I'm holding a pen in my hand, but maybe we pick up the pencil in the beginning of the year and we just write all of our opinions in pencil. Well, then we just come back and erase them later in the season. That's also why I always laugh at the concept of quality win, quality loss in September and October. And once you get to the end of the year, yeah, we can define this. But then the other part of that is, okay, so let's look at the Alabama loss to Vandy. Let's say we don't paint that as the Armageddon scenario that it once was thought to be. Well, it's not like Alabama's played perfect football outside of that. I still saw penalties on every other play at Neyland. I saw them get really shaken up there. The offense was inconsistent and really failed them. I've seen them get pushed to the brink by a good South Carolina team. South Florida had them in a dogfight until late. So, there's vulnerability here, but I do think your point is taken on my end that shouldn't be the albatross on the resume that many painted it. And congratulations to Diego Pavia. That race was called really early. Just ownership of Alabama. That was called before election night in general.
Yeah, the graphic was floating around. That was actually well done. It was a knockoff of the NBC graphic, and it said, Diego Pavia has been elected president of the state of Alabama. That's pretty good. I give him credit for that. That was great.
Yeah. So when you look at this Alabama LSU game, both coaches are trying not to paint this as a playoff game, an elimination game, but that's what it is. You're around these coaches all the time. Why would you not want to lean into this being a playoff game, an elimination game? Why are they so hesitant to call it that?
I think it's because you don't want to require anything external like that. You've wired your guys where you don't need that. It's the same reason I don't listen to music in the gym. I could go a long time on this. I believe that if you're wired the right way and you're intrinsically motivated the proper way, nothing about the magnitude of the moment should be able to pull anything additionally out of you. That's how you play to a standard every week. That's how you live to a standard in your day-to-day life. Well, conversely, with this, if my guys aren't already up and I've got to tell them, hey, by the way, just FYI here in the locker room before we go out, it's an elimination game. So now really give it your all. If I've got to do that, it's already too late anyway. And in the aggregate, guys get themselves so worked up, they're not focused on the right things. And you can actually get yourself a little bit wobbly by focusing on external factors. So if I'm Kalen DeBoer or if I'm Brian Kelly, you focus on what you're supposed to focus on. You focus on the task at hand. It's all this boring stuff. Done away, people would call it cliches and coach speak. It's really the key to sustainable success instead of, this is the problem I've had with Dabo in the past, Dabo leaned into that stuff. And you know what? Sometimes he got a really, really high level performance. But the problem is once you get to the mountaintop, they stop doubting you and disrespecting you, and they stop putting these implications on games. So then it's just up to you to fuel yourself, which you should have been doing all along. But if you relied on the outside stuff, it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. Hey, listen, just from a guy who is a gym guy like you.
Yeah.
You listen to music, so when you're throwing the bar around a little bit, you don't hear guys grunting on the other side when they're throwing heavy weights around like you. So that's why I listen to music. It's not for motivation. It's to drown out distractions.
Yeah. I get that. I also started doing this thing where I talk to myself a lot because, there's some weird folks in the gym. So if you present yourself as one of them, you'll find that no one ever walks up to you and asks you for a spot. They never disturb you. If you just kind of walk around like that, people think you got a body in your trunk, and so they just leave you alone.
Do you wear the curl belt around and look at yourself in the mirror?
I don't do it.
Okay.
I don't do the curl belt at all. Now that's Dave Ballou probably get on to me about that. I don't use any back support. I look in the mirror, but I use the mirror in the gym like I use it on my car. I just want to be aware of my surroundings at all times, because as much as I did just give you the antisocial rule, there are some people who break straight through that orb. They do not care, and they will approach you at all costs. And so you got to be aware. That is why I love the mirrors in the gym.
Okay, again, 2024, a strange year. I think I've seen Oregon play a couple of complete games against Illinois, against Michigan. Outside of that, the elite teams, top 10 teams, I haven't seen anybody put together a full 4 quarters. If someone puts together a full 4 quarters, who is the best team in college football?
Should be Ohio State. That's who I picked in the preseason. Georgia's got that capability if Carson Beck turns in a turnover-free game. Those are the two. Texas. I think Texas still has really, really good springboard potential about them. So it's the teams that you would have circled in the preseason, but we're in November. Like, you just asked me that question on November 6th. So at some point we got to ask, like, is that coming? Or are we just in this blender of a November? And if we are, see, that's what makes this Bama LSU game interesting. If this were 2019 or something like that, we had that caliber of team out there, then it wouldn't really matter what the outcome is this Saturday in Baton Rouge. We would know the ceiling on those teams is well below national championship contention. But we don't have a 2019 LSU, 2020 Alabama, 2021 Georgia, or whatever floating around out there. I wouldn't be stunned if we watch this LSU-Alabama game and then we cryogenically freeze ourselves after the ending. It wouldn't shock me if we melted in January and the winner of this game is in the semifinals or in the national championship game. Anyone who gets hot has got a shot this playoff.
At Josh Pate CFB is where you follow Josh. You can watch Josh Pate's college football show Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday right there on YouTube. Times vary. Most of the time, though, 7 o'clock Central Time. Occasionally he'll do early, but he always lets you know ahead of time if he does that. He doesn't just surprise you. So go subscribe to his YouTube channel, set alerts so you know when he's live, and follow him on social media at Josh Pate CFB. He's with CBS Sports, and he's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Indiana basically for them, it's a bye or a road game. I mean, where they're ranked, it's hard to see. I guess there's a scenario where they could beat Ohio State, get in the Big Ten championship game, lose it, and still get a home game out of it. That's a tough needle for them to thread, obviously, but it could happen.
Well, I mean, Ryan, we're not going to punish teams for making the conference title.
I'm told that.
Yeah, I don't know if you picked up the guidance on that, but we're just not going to do it. I agree with you. They had me come on last night and do a live hit about this, and the more I thought about it, the more, I think Indiana kind of gets screwed here. And you can tell me all you want to on the strength of schedule. I'm normally the one making that argument. I understand that. And if you're squeaking by inferior teams, okay, they've done what they're supposed to against inferior teams. They're just body bagging everyone left and right by 2+ touchdowns. So you will never sell me on the concept that if Penn State, who lost and only dropped to 6, by the way, if Penn State had that resume, Penn State's probably the number 1 and number 2 team in the country right now. Ohio State ditto, Michigan ditto. So it's a huge brand name thing. But then the other part of that is, like you just said, when you get into the weeds of this, for everyone who tries to tell you, oh, bro, it's just the first version of the rankings, it doesn't matter. Well, they're lying to you, because right now what you've said is a default position where if Penn State wins out, they're not dropping any unless the seeding forces them to drop. And Indiana, conversely, still plays the opponent that just beat Penn State in their own building. And I think all 4 of us understand the moment that Ohio State beats Indiana, even if it's by 1, a trap door will open and Indiana will disappear from view. They'll be down in the low teens. And so, the standard being applied here is surprisingly, shockingly, with the committee, a little uneven.
Okay, now in the NFL, which we're getting closer to, at some point late in the year, we get little asterisks that started appearing in the standings when you've clinched a playoff spot. If Oregon beats Maryland, basically, can I put an asterisk by their name? Because they've only got 2 games left. There's no way Oregon could lose their last 2 and fall out. Even if they lost their last 2, they'd still be in the playoff. Can I put an asterisk by Oregon if they survive Maryland?
Yeah, I guess. And then the committee, Ward Manuel, would personally call you and say, Dunaway, it's Ward. It's good to talk to you again. Remember, conference championships matter. Now, inevitably, we're going to see rematches of conference title games in the playoff, but they matter. So forget about your little Y or X or asterisks down there. Nope, these teams still have a whole lot to play for, which that's one side of that done away. But think about this. What happens when we get in like a Big 12 scenario where one of these teams knows ahead of time, we're not Oregon. Our only shot is winning the conference title or else we're not going to make it in. If mathematically one of those spots gets locked up, like let's just say Iowa State is mathematically already in that thing, but they have a loss. So last weekend of the season, they're playing Kansas State. They know I'm going to Dallas either way. That's our only shot to make the playoff either way. How do they handle the last regular season game? Do they rest starters? Do you compromise the integrity of that game? The answer is yes.
You have
yes,
to.
By the way,
you have to. Yeah.
So, and then going even further down that, going back to what we were just talking about with Brown, they're telling you in not so many words that we're not going to punish conference championship losers. Okay, in the SEC and Big Ten, I don't doubt that. How about we just run the scenario that's not hard to envision at this point, where Brigham Young just runs the table. They go undefeated to the conference title game, and they play Iowa State. Iowa State beats them, they're in. Where does Brigham Young end up? Because they would certainly be a top 10 team going into conference championship Saturday if they lose. I think so too.
Yeah.
I think they're out. At which point we ask ourselves, why did we just hold a Big 12 championship game?
Yep. I don't know the Big 12 bowl tie-ins, but Brigham Young's in one of those. It is not in the
Holiday Bowl, man.
Holiday
They're
Bowl,
always
whatever it
there.
is. Yeah, they got a great history there.
Hey, what's more unacceptable? I asked these guys this question a couple of days ago. Mike Gundy, 0-6 right now in the Big 12, or Hugh Freeze in year 2, 1-5 in the SEC?
Freeze, because more is expected of him. Gundy has about the worst pair of coordinators that he's had in a long time. Just not a good coaching staff. And so on one hand, I just always expect Mike Gundy to throw a miracle together. On the other hand, it makes sense that they've fallen flat. At Auburn, we did this last night. I did a job approval ratings segment last night, and we did Freeze. And job approval and hot seat are detached. So if I'm an Auburn fan, I think his job approval is way below 50% right now. Now, I don't think that all of them are trying to throw him on the hot seat, because they look and they see top 10 class last year, top 5 class as it stands right now in the team rankings this upcoming year. We flipped Deuce night. We know, or we think we know, we're going to be really aggressive in the portal at the quarterback position this upcoming cycle. So there are reasons for optimism down there, whereas Oklahoma State's just Oklahoma State. But the job approval rating thing, for a guy like Mike Norvell versus a guy like Hugh Freeze is a lot different, because both have fallen off to varying degrees this year. I think one of them has a lot more promising talent acquisition arm about him that can right the ship. I don't know what you do with Mike Norvell, and they're having that conversation at USC too, by the way, with Lincoln Riley.
Here is you want to come back to that USC or Lincoln Riley, because I want to while he's on Auburn. Here's the tweet from Josh Pate yesterday, and this is remarkable.
Ooh, good follow on Twitter.
Who, Josh Pate?
Yeah.
Josh Pate, CFB. Not Late Kick Josh anymore. Josh Pate, CFB. Auburn is 21st in total defense. Does that surprise you guys? That Auburn is 21st in total defense?
It does.
Does it really? Okay.
It doesn't, because I follow Josh, but yes.
Okay. So, Jim, pretend you've never seen this, Jim, if you don't mind.
I'm shocked.
Auburn is 21st in total defense. Better than Ole Miss, BYU, and Bama, as Josh points out. Auburn is 46th in total offense. Does that surprise you?
That does surprise me.
Jim, you've seen it, and it still surprises you.
It still surprises me. In fact, I fact-checked it.
Auburn is, as Josh points out, 3-6, being top 50 in both categories. 3-6, 88th in points per game is remarkable. And our guy, real quick, Josh, our guy Kyle Rush from thebarnauburn.com added this context. Since 2000, the only other times Auburn has been better in both of these categories is 04 and 2017. A team that should have been in the national championship mix and a team that played for the SEC. And this team is 3-6.
Yeah, 2010 not included, by the way.
2010 not even included. 2013 not included, where they actually played for a national championship.
So back to USC and Lincoln Riley, and I've got to ask you this.
Real quickly, as Booger McFarland says about stats, and he got this quote from somewhere else, but he used it this past week, stats are like bikinis. It shows you some stuff, but not everything.
Oh, you weren't
No.
you weren't here for Bobby Carpenter.
Bobby Carpenter, best ever.
Yeah, Bobby Carpenter was on the show last week.
Stats are like hostages.
Stats are like hostages. You cut them up and they'll tell you anything.
Yeah, that was incredible.
What are we doing? Like, there were 50 other metaphors on the shelf that would have been more palatable. And my man went with the hostage protocol.
Yeah, it's so good.
Loved it. So USC, I've watched all 9 of these games. They're much better than 4 and 5. They're a better team than they were last year. Defensive injuries, Anthony Lucas, Eric Gentry, those are guys you can't really replace. if they still had Caleb Williams, I know this is ridiculous, they would be 9-0. But they are 4-5. And all 5 losses, they have led in the fourth quarter. I think Lincoln Riley's a good coach. It's not working right now, but like, what is the answer, and what do you really think is going on out in L.A.?
Their margin for error is really small right now. Let me back up to what you said. I mean, I don't want to just gloss over this. They are a 5-loss team, and they've led in all 5 games in the fourth quarter.
Crazy.
That's pretty remarkable.
That is remarkable. That's
Would
hard
you
to do.
agree with the Caleb Williams thing? Again, that's ridiculous, but I think they would be undefeated.
Yeah, or without Caleb Williams. I actually, last night, I went back and looked at this. I identified half a dozen plays in their season where if I changed 6 things, they're an undefeated team. So people would tell you, well, but that's the way football works. You're right. What I'm asking is, if I change these 6 little things here, Lincoln Riley's the same coach as he is in scenario A and scenario B. So to me, looking from a distance, he's fine. The guy is benching his quarterback right now, and they're changing quarterbacks. He made the moves in spring that are being glossed over because they're losing games. Their defense has seen quantum leaps of improvement. That's a really big deal. That's what was dragging them down. So then my philosophy becomes, well, if they've hired right on defense and I don't have to worry about them having to score 50 to win anymore, I'm going to blindly trust that Lincoln Riley gets the offense figured out. I don't think that's the most bold roll of the dice in the history of this sport. They'll be okay. It's just he hired terribly when he got there, and it took until year 3 for him to rectify it. And it's tough to sell your fan base that you need to have some patience starting in year 3. But that's the situation they're in. So they can either accept it or they can voluntarily jump off rung 7 of the ladder into the great unknown. And we've seen how poorly that works out at various times.
He is Josh Pate. Josh Pate CFB is where you follow him on social media. The Josh Pate College Football Show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, normally at 7 o'clock Central Time on YouTube. So also go subscribe to his YouTube channel and set your alerts like we ask you to do for us so you know when he goes live.
Hey, one final question. Better quarterback in this game in Baton Rouge Saturday?
Should be Jalen Milroe if he's healthy. I can't trust the consistency of Garrett Nussmeier. That's not all on him. They ask him to drop back like 50 times a game, which is totally unsustainable. If you could guarantee me 100% of Milroe, I'd roll with Milroe every day.
You say if he's healthy, do you like me keep getting told that he's not healthy, but then you ask people who do know and they tell you no, he's healthy, it's not a health issue? Does that happen to you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think that I need confirmation. Both of the eyeballs still work. And so I'm looking at him, and he can't stretch the ball down the field, but also is not a weapon with his legs, which makes me scratch the chin away and ask myself, did the bye week come at the perfect time?
Did it come
TBD.
at the perfect time?
Perfectly timed bye week, yes.
Yeah.
Pate, thank you very much. Have a great – where are you headed Saturday? I forgot. Where are you going?
I'm going to Baton Rouge. I'm headed to Academy to get an umbrella right now, and I'm headed to Baton Rouge.
That's right. You're going to need that umbrella.
Well, you get weather and great football together. I mean, that's almost a dream scenario for you.
Hey, do you have a gas card from what's your
he's QT.
QT?
Yeah, I got them. Do you want me to mail them? Would you like a digital version? How would you like this delivered to you?
What wasn't asking for? I was just wondering.
He was just wondering for your budget.
No, I saw your girl. I think you posted her last week, and she had the toboggan on with Q. What is it?
QT.
QT.
Yeah, quick trip.
It was the main reason we went to a cold weather game, so we could just showcase the toboggan. I mean, the game was almost an afterthought.
Yeah. We do cheesy headlines on Friday, so my cheesy headline for Josh's sidekick there, his mate, would be, she is a QT.
Wow, that is cheesy.
Oh, wow.
You get no disagreement from me.
That's right. We better not. You better not.
All right, enjoy Baton Rouge, Pate. Always good to talk to you, buddy.
All right, see you guys.
All right, thank you, Josh Pate, with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.